Check it.
All views expressed in this video are mine. I am not a doctor. Hello everyone, it's your boy Jeff Van Zuden, and I'd like to welcome you to the second episode of Recovery Iron. Tonight's episode is all about triggers and how they can affect your addiction and how they affected my addiction. Stay tuned and we'll get that list going. So, one of the biggest triggers for me, which there's quite a few, would be boredom. Boredom is something that we all experience, especially people that are hyperactive like me or perceived to have ADHD. You get bored really easily, and you almost feel like you need constant stimulation. And as an addict, you are wiring yourself for constant, instant gratification. And that's the problem. When you don't have anything to fill that little itch, you're going to continue to put stuff in that area to fill the itch. Mainly drugs or alcohol. Boredom can be hard to deal with. Especially early on in recovery, you feel lost almost. That's why I think it is so important to find a new hobby or be in meetings, have someone to talk to, a routine that you can follow. Go for walks, get into fitness like me. It basically replaces that instant gratification that you seek in your drug addiction with hard work. And the hard work becomes a reward, and it gives you that gratification. Not instant gratification, but eventually, it kind of does become that. And you got to work for it. Those neural pathways that you destroyed in your addiction have to be remade. It's almost like having a freshly plowed field. There's no ruts in it. You have to create new ruts into that destination in your brain. Positive ruts. Another trigger for me would be loneliness. When I was younger, this ties into basically my whole journey. I've never felt accepted anywhere. I always felt alone. I always looked for gratification in how others thought of me or how I perceived that they thought of me. And loneliness can be hard to overcome because you can get into a pretty deep pit of self-loathing, self-esteem can be twisted up in there. It can be pretty hardcore to get out of. Loneliness aspect ties into probably one of my greatest triggers, relationships. I have been in several severely codependent relationships that have been very miserable for me. I always looked for fulfillment in a relationship. I thought if I could just be in a relationship, be with the one I loved, have that white picket fence ideal, that it would make me not feel empty, but it made it worse. Honestly, it just made me a shell of myself, anxious, jealous, worrying all the time, constantly just upset, just seething. And I was miserable. That's why you'll never see me in relationships now. Not because I'm not capable of being different, but because I'm scared of what that could bring to me. It's just a pathway into my addiction that I don't have to open again. And I'm much happier with myself, knowing myself, and not having to have the validation of other people to give me purpose. You know, for me, and a lot of addicts, money can be a huge trigger. Having very little or having a giant amount. Because I know my addiction was at its craftiest when I didn't have any money. Because I would find a way to get the money. And then you obsess about it, and it becomes this endless cycle. But on the other hand, you get a fat paycheck, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to go spend all of that on your drug of choice or whatever. Get stocked up so you're not going to run out. You're going to manage it this time. That's a fallacy. We all know that. And money is the root of all evil, they say. And it's not proven wrong in my case. Any extreme emotion can be a trigger for me, or could have been back then. And anger was always a big emotion for me. I get angry, someone makes me angry, a situation or anything like that, I'm going to take that anger out. And who do I take it out on? Myself. And usually that's with chronic drinking till blackout, doing massive amounts of any substance to try to stick it to the man. Really, I'm just killing myself, which is crazy, but that's the addiction. It's raptured thoughts up into this crazy rationale to where you can make anything okay, and it's not okay. Like with me and opiates, the most pleasurable sensation that I chemically have ever felt, but the most angry and loose cannon I have ever acted ever. You would think someone that felt so good, how can they act like such a miserable person? That's addiction right there. Tell me that's not a trap. Tiredness is a huge trigger for me because I can't perform when I'm tired. I'm going to find a way not to be tired. As a member of the RX generation that usually started with Adderall and then 2 other things, and then guess what? We're in a full-blown meth addiction again, just because you were trying to stay awake for a 3rd shift job. So I really do not recommend anyone who is in early recovery to be working shift work. 1st or 2nd shift so you can still sleep at night. Your circadian rhythm is so important to your health and your mental well-being. And when you mess with that, especially early on in recovery, you have a recipe for disaster, especially in my case. This is just a small list. We learned an acronym in treatment called HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These are the things that are going to throw you off, that will trigger you to want to use, to make you feel uncomfortable on the inside. And it's true. And that's how you get past this. You get yourself on a firm foundation spiritually. You evaluate what you want your life to look like in the future. And is it going to be able to be sustained by what you're doing now? Identify the triggers that cause you to use and feel the way you feel. Form a plan of attack to get through this, and reach out for help. There are people all around you to help you. They're everywhere. You just got to reach out. I love you, folks. Stay old school. As always, for a 15% discount on all Old School Labs products, use Jeff VZ12 at checkout.